Warhammer 40k has many different stories to tell. The universe and setting are massive, with hundreds of books and so much to enjoy, it can seem overwhelming. Coming into Warhammer over the last couple of years, I have to admit that compared to the Halo universe, we are spoilt with options. One of my favorite sides of this universe is the sci-fi horror aspect, the grimdark moments, and things that make your hairs at the back of your neck stand up. Halo moved away from this style, but I love that Warhammer has dived right into it with many different Warhammer horror stories. As a late Halloween special, I thought that it would be a great way to share with you all a scary story that had me on the edge of my seat while I was reading it. This video is about a short story called The Blood Drinker, which you can find in a compilation book called The Resting Places. This is also something that I just wanted to give a vague explanation about before we start. It's a look at the monsters that the Emperor created and what happens when they lose their minds. I won't give away too much, because we're given very little information, but as you slowly progress through the story, you're able to piece things together for a very exciting conclusion. So now that you know the details, let's get stuck into it. Our story begins with a dream. Actaeon is running from a massive beast clad in armor. It has the body of a human, but the head of a wolf, with its eyes bright like searchlights and talons scraping against the narrow walls of the ship. Its tongue is drooling for the taste of his flesh as the monstrous beast chases him, bending its massive body into a feral crouch. He is naked and weaponless, so he runs. He cannot remember a time when he wasn't running, but there are brief moments of respite. The ship is populated by tiny acolytes of the beast, and they fall to his hands easily. By covering himself in their blood, his scent is masked, and the beast is no longer able to track him. Eventually, though, the blood dries, and the chase begins again. This dream sequence then cuts to a conversation between two members of law enforcement. One is called a prime adjutant, who is the senior figure, and a conscripted Arbites trooper called Darius. They appear to be in a desperate situation, because Darius was recruited at gunpoint to be an Arbites trooper, the only benefit being that he gets an Aquila badge and a pistol to enforce his authority. They are discussing the crime that was reported by a civilian who is about to be interrogated, and it's suggested that there have been many attacks lately that are slowly traveling their way further up the ship. The civilian who reported this is almost mad, shrieking and whimpering repeatedly. "It was white, corpse white," he moaned, "and fast. Blessed Saint Gela, it was fast." The man was filthy, smeared in blood, grease, and the mold that he was supposed to collect for food. He had escaped by throwing himself into a thermal vent, suffering severe burns in the process. "Well, was it man-shaped then?" asked Darius. "It had hands, I know that much. It tore Peter to pieces in front of me with them. You know when a hydro duct bursts, that gushing sound it makes? when it's spilling everywhere? Well, that's what I heard. Even after he'd stopped screaming, just wet sounds, over and over. The man continued to repeat himself, falling into hysteria. Darius and the Prime Adjutant left the room, and he's ordered to deputize a squad and investigate the scene of the attack to find out if there's any truth to this. The story then gives us a bit more information about what exactly is going on. It appears that these humans are on a ship that has been stuck on a hostile world or some other kind of location where going outside the ship is a death sentence, and the ship has come out of some kind of calamity which has disabled it, but thanks to the blessings of Saint Gela, or what we would know as a Gela field, they were saved from the warp. However, during this event, the ship became stuck vertically, so because of this, across the ship became up and down the ship, and this has meant that the survivors have to crawl through small hallways and shafts, otherwise they will be plunged deep into the depths of the lower levels. They appear to have been stuck in this situation for generations, with so much inbreeding that everyone is someone's cousin, and because of that, it's common to have deformities, and psychers are still produced in a very high amount, but these children are deformed and hated, so they are left to the lower levels where they are abandoned. As Darius and his squad of deputies, once again forcefully recruited at gunpoint, make their way down the hallways into the lower levels, they find Peter. Or what remained of him. He had been torn apart and eviscerated so thoroughly, limbs and internal organs strewn and glistening. It looked more like he had simply exploded from the inside. It seemed impossible that a human being could have wrought so much damage on another. Darius orders a couple of men to clean up the mess while he takes 2 more with him to track whatever it is that caused this and kill it. Darius was determined, but he wanted to be rewarded handsomely. His ambition was, for now, outweighing his fear. The attacker's trail was not difficult to follow. It had not just left gory footsteps, but smears on the walls and ceiling. They had come to a crossroad and almost lost it, but they noticed dried blood as it began to move upwards onto a railing. A chill went down Darius's spine as he realized that every level higher this creature went, the closer it came to the hab blocks. But he didn't have time to think about this because it was upon them. Already, the creature used its monstrous strength to decimate the squad. Fangs severed arteries, causing blood to geyser out of Darius's men. One was slammed into a metal pipe behind his skull, causing him to flail for precisely 2 seconds before slumping into an unmoving slab of meat. Darius aimed his pistol and managed to get 1 shot off, but it was too fast, even in the narrow corridors of the ship. It reached for him and stopped. The creature's red fingers moved away as he took a step back. Darius realized now it was a human man. He was impossibly tall and thin, as if he was starved. Pale as a ghost with long hair, he appeared to be trying to say something, then just as quickly as he came, he vanished. The next part of the story returns to the dream sequence that we had earlier. Actaeon is running from the beast with its hulking black armor and taunting laughter. He finds more of the acolytes and kills them easily enough, all except for one. He bears a symbol that he knows. It burns into his mind from a long forgotten time. Its winged shape sears into his brain and forces him to remember something of what he was. Actaeon wakes up. He was curled in a fetal position, rocking himself. He slowly rubs the smear from his eyes and sees the blood that has coated his body. Old blood and new blended into a second skin around his body. "Emperor, forgive me," he whispers to himself. He sucks on the blood from his fingers, and the metallic taste takes him away from the waking nightmare and back into his realm. But there is no escape. He sees the beast coming for him again, so he does the only thing he can. He runs. Darius is left in shock where the carnage unfolded, but is brought back to his senses with a female voice. "Well, that was enlightening. He's afraid of the Aquila. He recognizes it. This means that there's something left of him. But is there enough to still reach him? That's the big question." "Who's there?" Darius screams into the shadows. "Show yourself!" A young girl with short blue hair comes forth in the overalls of a worker. "Who are you? What hall are you from?" "You can call me Raiden. And I don't come from any hall, but I can help you defeat the creature that's killing your people." Darius shifts for a second. "How can you be of no hall?" The young girl flickers for a moment, and her form changes. You're one of them. You're nothing but a crawler. And you're an idiot. But perhaps we can use each other." Darius is taken aback at first, but after having a few moments to think about things, his mind changes, and he decides to ally himself with her. Returning to the Prime Adjutant without anything to go on would not be good. If he killed this beast, he could return, take the credit, and then have the glory and fame and life that he wanted. He could live on the higher levels. He could have a life of pleasure and enjoyment. So he agrees. "Fine, I'll hear what you have to say, crawler." "I have to show you something, but not here. Follow me." Darius climbs through service tunnels and hallways, tight spaces, and all the while they plunge deeper into the bowels of the ship. When they arrive at their destination, Darius has been using a flashlight to search around the area and realizes that he's shining his light on the remains of a poorly carved sarcophagus. There were faint details in the indentations, but from the head to groin, there was a large split, and the edges were peeled outwards, as if something had crawled forth from the coffin. Raiden gestured with her hands. This was what kept him alive. "But who or what is he?" Darius questioned. "He is a space marine. she answered bluntly. Darius laughed. It was as if she had said that the blessed Saint Geller himself was on board the ship. He could hardly imagine the angelic warriors of the Emperor to be that creature. While his body is intact, his mind is severely damaged, she continued. He believes that he is being pursued by a beast, and that the only way to avoid it is to cover himself in the blood of your people. And the only way to stop him from slaughtering all of you is to wake him up from his delirium. And how do you propose that we do that? I will call him using my gifts, and then you will simply command him to wake up from his nightmare. Darius snorted. I'm no space marine. He'll take one look at me and tear me to shreds before I can say anything. Better yet, why would he ever listen to me? There is enough Astartes left in him that he respects the symbol of the Aquila, and you will not appear to him as the wretch that you are. He will see a towering figure of authority. Then why do you even need me? Why not just conjure the whole illusion yourself, you damned witch? Because it doesn't work like that. It has to have a basis in reality, something to twist, pervert. Have care, Arbiter. There are many perversions that can visit you instead. Darius raised his chin defiantly. You are an abomination against nature, he burst out. But when he looked back upon the crawler woman, she was not there. It was the Prime Adjutant. What is your duty, Arbiter? She snapped. A small part of his mind knew that it could not really be her, but the voice of denial in his head was becoming smaller and smaller. He was taken in by the illusion. She drew her sidearm and pointed it at his face. What is your duty? To protect the spike, he stammered. You will address me as Prime Adjutant, boy, or I will paint the walls with your sorry excuse for a brain. Yes, sir. Prime Adjutant, sir. Good. Now, kneel. I don't kneel, boy. She needed no psychic powers to command him now. He dropped to the floor as the crawler morphed back into the girl with the blue hair. See there? That wasn't so difficult now, was it? The beast is so close that Actaeon can smell the stench of its breath. At times, he can see on the walls the shadow of its massive wolf's head, teeth curving like daggers, and the claws of its right hand longer than his own arm. Its bubbling howl now seems to form words. Come to me, son of blood. Give yourself to me. But then he hears another voice, singing. He considers for a moment and changes direction. He does not know if this singing in the distance will bring salvation or damnation, but he knows that at the very least it will be different to the current waking nightmare. He is coming, Raiden whispered. He is responding to my calls. Are you ready? Do I have a choice? Darius replied. They had found a large chamber with only one entrance, and while Darius moved debris out of the way, Raiden had begun drawing runes and symbols on the walls in her own blood. She approached him with a knife made of bone and calmly said, "The ritual will require some of your blood. Surely there must be another way." She cocked her head to the side, questioning, "Tell me then, what alternative to sanguinary vector would establish the same primary somatic nexus for this ritual?" I don't know." "Exactly. So shut up and give me your arm." The pain was quick, and she then used Darius's blood to extend the sigils on the walls and the floor even further, all the while singing under her breath. I have to say, I don't look like much of a commanding figure, Darius wondered. "You will," Raiden said. "He will be fast, but he will stop when he sees the Aquila. That moment will make him lower his guard, so that I can breach his mind and create what I need for the illusion. You understand that this will be a reciprocal experience, yes?" Darius stared blankly at her. Raiden sighed. "We will be sharing the nightmare that he has as well, and the beast that is pursuing him." "But it's not real, right?" "It's real to him." He stared in alarm. "But what does that mean?" Then there was a tortured squeal of metal as the blood-crazed Astartes ripped his way up through the floor right into the middle of the protective seals. Actaeon claws his way into the chamber from below. Even if it is an ambush, he must take the risk and follow the singing. The beast is so close, it's right behind him. "Son of Sanguinius," it roars, "there is no escape. You will give yourself to me, as did your sire." Sanguinius. That is all that Raiden needed to know. The truth of the warrior spilled into her mind from that one link as she accessed his memories and knowledge. Raiden had grossly miscalculated. A lot of this warrior was not even himself. The beast, it was real, but it was a memory. Events that had taken place. The beast was not just a random fabrication. It was a deep terror given shape from an ancient memory. The mere glimpse of it made her want to run and hide and wait for death like a small animal. And it had a name. Horus. Then the floor erupted and the screaming began. "Darius! Now!" The last thing Actaeon expected to find in the room was a towering figure in crimson power armor, a sergeant from an assault squad. It is the same armor that he used to wear, and seeing this reminds him of how far he has fallen. He collapses to his knees. "Get up," he commands. "What are you?" He cannot answer. He is stricken with fear as the beast of Horus enters the chamber behind him, howling in triumph. The red sergeant drags him back to his feet and thrusts an Aquila the size of a short sword into his hand, saying to him, Do your duty and face the enemy of the Emperor, or just slit your own throat now." And then everything changed. He was no longer in a cramped room. He was on the bridge of a colossal battle barge, surrounded by fire and broken bodies. He is there in this moment. He is not naked, but armored in gold, wielding the blade in carmine. It is a memory he understands, but he is Sanguinius. He has always been fighting this battle, and now he turns to fight Horus. But instead of the face of Horus, there is the face of a wolf snarling at him. "Run, son of blood!" He had always run in the past, thinking he was fleeing its control, but was under its spell all the same. The chaplains of his order had a different name for this beast: the Black Rage. He raises the Aquila and yells back, "No! No more running!" Raiden is huddled in the corner as she watches the battle unfold in Actaeon's mind. On the floor lies Darius, curled into a ball, thrashing and drooling, bleeding from the eyes. There was never any chance that his mind could withstand the psychic backlash from Actaeon's crisis, but he had played his part. Even if he survived, he would be no more intelligent than mold. She was uncertain of what the Space Marine would be like when he awoke, so she had to take her illusionary form again, the girl with the blue hair. Actaeon opened his eyes and realized immediately that peace had finally arrived. His gaze found a girl with blue hair who he knew was the one that was singing, the one who had brought him out of his nightmare. He felt that the nightmare would return one day, but in the meantime, he rested and recovered his strength. Thanks to the help of Raiden, she promised to help him, and he trusted her. Darius sat cross-legged on the floor, giggling. He is on the lowest levels, drawing with his fingers, using his own blood and shit, attempting to recreate the symbols he saw on the armor of the beast. Concentrating on them helped to clear his mind and stop it from going out like a candle. The symbols, they whispered to him, promising him the glory that the gutter scum had cheated him of. He is getting better at it. The shapes and symbols are becoming clearer, and his giggles turn into barks of laughter because it's funny. To think that he had been so silly, being afraid of the outside, when the sigils he had found came from much deeper inside than anybody could have possibly imagined. His laughter turns to shrieks as slowly, in the air above his scrawlings, something begins to take shape. And that, everyone, is the end of the story. So I hope that you all enjoyed it as much as I did. I had to take a lot more time to make this video, and obviously by the length of this video, this is one of my longest ones I've made. So I really hope that you guys did watch it all the way to the end and were able to get as much joy out of it as I did when I read the story. I tried to mix in some voice acting stuff to help with the immersion, so please give me some feedback and let me know if that's something you want more of, or if you don't want it either, if you found that it wasn't able to help with the story. So please let me know on what you think worked, what you think may not have worked, so that way in future videos I can make my content as good as I can for all of you to enjoy. But that is pretty much about it for today, so I will see you all on the next one. I have been Kiv, and I'm out.